Officials with the Del Mar racetrack respond to last night's deputy-involved shooting, how they're trying to reassure guests about security. And more options to get a degree. The state expands a program for community college students in San Diego.
The size is very small. It's like thousands of times smaller than the width of your hair.
A tiny solution for a painful condition. New technology developed at UC San Diego is a breakthrough for the treatment of arthritis.
Who's ready for some música?
And details on a Latino film series happening this month in San Ysidro. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. There are new questions tonight about security at Del Mar racetrack after last night's deputy-involved shooting. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman looks at whether any changes will be made.
After a man fired a gun into the air Sunday, a sheriff's deputy returned fire, taking him down. A department spokeswoman says the gunman, a 22-year-old from Escondido, is expected to survive. But there's growing concern over how someone can just walk up to a fairgrounds ticket booth with a loaded handgun.
We've been doing the races here since 1937. There haven't been any shootings.
Del Mar Thoroughbred Club spokesman Mac McBride says bags are checked before getting in, but there aren't any metal detectors or required pat-downs.
We're going to evaluate. If we think having metal detectors in place might be the best way to go, absolutely we could consider that. Okay? Right now, we're in evaluation mode.
The sheriff's department says the man who fired the gun was upset that a performance by rapper Ice Cube was sold out after the races.
Got all the horses, all the races, top picks in every race for only $2.
People at the track today were not worried about their safety.
No, that was an Ice Cube concert. This is a whole different crowd that enjoys the horse racing.
The fact that it was concert goers, and so that's a different crowd of people. So, I mean, the two groups don't really merge together in any way that I know of.
The Thoroughbred Club uses both private security and sheriff's deputies at their events. A spokesman says there won't be any immediate changes to security, but a day later, fans coming to the track are already noticing a difference.
He just made me toss my drink. That's the first time ever that's happened to me, so I've always brought soft drinks in here, or water. Maybe they're just scared and just a little overreaction from last night. That's all I can guess.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Ice Cube reacted to last night's incident today on social media. He said he was sorry some people decided to leave and urged people to leave their guns at home. This week, Governor Jerry Brown will sort through hundreds of bills passed by lawmakers. Capitol Public Radio's Ben Bradford has a 90-second summary of what survived the final night of the state's legislative session.
The year's most prominent compromise allows utilities to pass along more of the cost of wildfire damages to customers to prevent what Democratic Senator Bill Dodd framed as an existential threat to PG&E.
This company may very well face bankruptcy.
Democrat Jerry Hill joined 3 Republicans to oppose it in the Senate.
Shouldn't we focus on requiring PG&E to improve the safety of their electric system that they've been neglecting all these years?
Negotiations took weeks. The bill also includes $200 million annually for fighting wildfires, and it passed easily, unlike legislation attempting to address police shootings of unarmed black men. A change to when police can use deadly force failed after opposition by powerful law enforcement groups. But Friday, lawmakers narrowly agreed to crack open the files when police shootings occur, including body camera footage and incident investigations. Republican Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham really summed up the debate.
We have to strike the right balance in our state between preserving confidential records and protecting the process for the people that protect us.
On delaying school start times until 8:30, the debate was nonpartisan, pitting sleep science against parents' drop-off schedules. Democratic Assemblyman Todd Gloria closed.
You cannot rise up and say that this is going to be tough for adults when we know that children are suffering.
A bill to implement net neutrality in California is also on its way to the governor, while one of his priorities, to partner with other states to share more electricity, stalled. How Brown will act on these measures is always a mystery. At the state capitol, I'm Ben Bradford.
College is being made more affordable for some San Diego students. Some community colleges have been offering four-year degrees under a state pilot program. KPBS education reporter Megan Burke says state lawmakers have voted to extend it.
Mesa College awarded its first bachelor's degrees this spring, and Miracosta College will do the same next year. The extension would allow them to graduate another 2 student cohorts with degrees in health information management and biomanufacturing. Constance Carroll is chancellor of the San Diego Community College District.
The purpose of these community college baccalaureate programs is to provide applied, we call it, workforce preparation in fields where there are lots of jobs. However, these jobs now require a bachelor's degree instead of an associate level.
13 other community colleges in the state are offering these degrees. None of those programs are available at the state's four-year institutions. The bill to extend this four-year program is on the governor's desk. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
A push to ban the controversial practice of conversion therapy is on hold. A state assemblyman from Northern California pulled a bill on the final day of the legislative session. Some religious groups were opposing the plan, saying it violated their First Amendment rights. The bill's author says after meeting with opponents from across the state, he decided to take more time to work on his approach.
The obligation that I have is not to wield power and push people into a direction they're not comfortable with, but rather to engage in thoughtful, transformative dialogue. During this period of time, I spent time in the state of California traveling throughout the state in different regions, meeting with religious leaders about their concern, not to change their minds, but to have a best understanding from their vantage point, as well as the position that I have.
He really did listen. He went around the state talking to religious leaders, trying to understand their position, and he heard us, he listened to us, and we're so appreciative for that and wish that would happen on more issues.
Conversion therapy is a practice that claims to change a person's sexual orientation. The ban was supported by some major professional groups like the American Medical Association. Confirmation hearings begin tomorrow for Supreme Court Justice nominee Brett Kavanaugh. The district court judge from Washington, D.C., was nominated by President Donald Trump earlier this summer to replace retired Justice Anthony Kennedy. This is expected to be a hotly contested process. Republicans hold a narrow one-vote majority in the Senate, and Kavanaugh would likely bring more conservative rulings to the court. NPR will have special coverage of the confirmation hearings over the next 3 days. It starts tomorrow morning on KPBS Radio. Things are heating up in the 50th congressional race. Challenger Amar Campa has a pointed ad against indicted Congressman Duncan Hunter. And as Jade Hyman reports, now President Trump is weighing in.
Well, Duncan Hunter and his wife are facing charges of misusing more than $250,000 in campaign funds. They both pleaded not guilty, but the indictment has rattled the race. It's no secret. Political scientists say even with an indictment, the Republican incumbent Duncan Hunter is expected to keep his current seat in Congress during the midterm election.
It's still very likely that he will win in that district because it's so heavily Republican, and his name will be on the ballot.
So Hunter's Democratic challenger, Amar Campa is fighting for the seat with a 30-second ad slated to start running Thursday. It highlights details in Hunter's federal indictment and encourages voters to read it for themselves.
Duncan Hunter Jr., stealing campaign funds for lavish vacations and gifts, defrauding wounded warriors, insulting our military. Duncan Hunter Jr., it's more than unethical and illegal. He's an embarrassment.
But a hard-hitting ad mixed with an indictment has the White House unsure of Republican midterm wins, including the 50th. In a tweet today, President Trump lashed out at Attorney General Jeff Sessions, saying, quote, "Two long-running Obama-era investigations of two very popular Republican congressmen were brought to a well-publicized charge just ahead of the midterms by the Jeff Sessions Justice Department. Two easy wins now in doubt because there's not enough time. Good job, Jeff." End quote. With the nervous White House, Carl Luna says if the 50th is ever flipped, now would be the time.
The Democrats have their best shot ever to get this seat, but that would require a perfect storm of really big Democratic turnout and a lot of depressed Republicans not showing up. National politics will play into this with the presidential issues, possibilities of impeachment.
Though unexpected, the midterms could usher in changings of the guard. Congressman Duncan Hunter does not have any ads running on TV. He and his wife have a motion hearing tomorrow. Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
You can find all of our coverage leading up to the 2018 general election on our website, kpbs.org. That includes candidate interviews and updates on campaign spending from our news partner, iNewsSource.
I'm John Yang. Tonight on the NewsHour, journalists are sentenced in Myanmar after reporting on the military's ethnic cleansing campaign against Rohingya Muslims. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Researchers at UC San Diego have developed a microscopic sponge that can soak up proteins that trigger rheumatoid arthritis. KPBS health reporter Susan Murphy spoke with the lead author of the new study.
We think we have developed a breakthrough nanomedicine technology.
Liangfeng Zhang is a nanoengineering professor at UC San Diego. He says he has found a way to help combat and prevent rheumatoid arthritis. The autoimmune disease causes chronic joint pain and inflammation. His solution, a nanosponge.
Nanosponge is just a nanoparticle. The size is very small. It's like thousands of times smaller than the width of your hair.
The tiny particle is a biodegradable polymer coated in white blood cells. He says it's a clever disguise.
So what we did is we collected this natural cell membrane, which contains all the membrane lipids, proteins, and also the function of this.
Nanosponges act like decoys and appear like regular white blood cells, which are the body's first responders against invading pathogens. Think of it like a sponge soaking up all the bad guys.
So they function like a sponge because they can absorb a lot of different types of the inflammatory factors or biomolecules.
When injected in mice with arthritis, Zhang said it reduced inflammation and protected joints from further cartilage loss. In recent years, he developed 2 other types of nanosponges, including one coated in red blood cells to fight infections.
It can be used in principle to block all these biological molecules or chemical compounds or even parasites, viruses that attack or target human red blood cells.
He hopes to see his work soon in human clinical trials. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
An aspirin a day has been suggested by doctors to lower the risk of heart problems. As Kathy Young reports, new studies show that's not always the case.
Low dose.
Doctors have long recommended that people who have already had a heart attack or a stroke take a low-dose aspirin every day to prevent another one.
It's very important. It reduces your future risk of stroke, heart attack, and can make you live longer.
Now major research has tested whether aspirin also can help prevent first-time heart problems. But it's a blood thinner that also can cause bleeding.
At what risk level might it be beneficial to take aspirin, and might that outweigh the risk?
One study looked at patients at moderate risk of heart problems because of health issues like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or smoking. Results showed no benefit from aspirin,
Don't worry about it.
but those patients were already taking other medicines that likely lowered their risks. A separate study tested aspirin in people with diabetes who are at greater risk for heart problems. It found that the good that aspirin did was outweighed by a greater risk of serious bleeding.
We also saw almost a 30% increased risk in major bleeding. So that was bleeding bad enough to get you into hospital.
The same study also tested fish oil supplements and found they did not lower heart risks, although it's already known that eating fish is good.
I think there's no longer any justification to be routinely recommending lower dose fish oil supplements, as we used in Ascend, to prevent heart disease.
So for now, the advice doesn't change. Doctors say aspirin does most good for people who already have heart disease. Kathy Young, Associated Press.
Artists from around the world spent Labor Day weekend in San Diego. Video journalist Chris Arciaga shows us some of the top entries for the U.S. Sand Sculpting Challenge happening at the Broadway Pier.
We're the Sand Squirrels, and the piece that we designed was called Love Notes. We had a good friend and a fellow carver who passed away this year due to brain cancer. And so we wanted to kind of do something to memorialize her.
The artists all have their imagination, however they create it.
The music is coming out of the couple who are hugging. So they're generating the music notes and the ribbon that wraps around and it ends in the heart for love notes.
I prefer sandcastle sculptures on the beach as opposed to in an indoor building, but I'm still impressed with the talent of these people.
Sculpting inside is a pleasure. The sand acts differently in the sun. So out in the sun it dries very fast, it gets very hard fast. Inside it stays more moist.
Inside, outside, all good. The more, the better. I was impressed with many of the artists are not from the U.S. states.
I'm from the Netherlands. From this came the idea like one person coming from the water and being really happy to be alive and to inhale and inspire.
I'm from Latvia. It's a question, who are you? She's like cat woman and this is like real cat and they're wondering to each other, who are you?
I love the cat, especially this one up close. I look for details, and if they're images of people, I look for the expressions in the faces. And I come every year to this event, and when I saw the sculpture, I knew right away that it had to have taken first place.
Great Labor Day out there. As we continue into tonight's forecast, you're definitely going to notice low clouds in the region. Temperature is a little below average. We're usually sitting in the upper 70s, but we're a little below that. Warmer for the late week, so temperature is going to be trending upwards. The last 6 hours on the satellite and radar, not much activity out towards Southern California. We notice moisture back into the Four Corner region. Once again, clouds for tonight, low clouds building in. That is due to that deep marine layer, but also a weak upper level low and an onshore flow, all aiding in some of that low cloud activity. Borrego Springs cooling down to 71 degrees, mainly clear. If you're out towards Oceanside, you'll be seeing a low of 64 and cooling down to 70 here in San Diego. Once again, increasing clouds tonight. And as we head into tomorrow morning, it might be hard to shake some of that cloud cover until later in the day, something that you might have been noticing over the past few days. 78 in San Diego for tomorrow, 79 in Oceanside for your Tuesday, and 100 in Borrego Springs. So it's warming up out there. As for the inland areas and Ramona, topping off at 85. For your Tuesday. Late week forecast, heat going to pump right into the southwest, extending into the northwest as well. And as we back into the middle of the country, we notice plenty of wet conditions. As of now, Gordon, Tropical Storm Gordon, that is, making its way across southern Florida, but will track its way inland and become a rainstorm by late week. So that's what you have to expect if you're traveling out towards the east. For the coast, we are looking at plenty of sunshine for your Tuesday and Wednesday, and temperatures once again trending into the upper 80s by Saturday, into the mid-90s Saturday for the inlands. That's that warmer air coming right on in. If you're in the mountains, we're in the lower 70s for your Tuesday, but by Saturday, topping off at 86 degrees. The desert's also going to get a push from that heat. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Daji Aswad.
Media Arts Center San Diego kicks off its outdoor film series at the Las Americas Premium Outlets this week. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has this preview.
If you can't get your fill of Latino films at the annual San Diego Latino Film Festival, then Media Arts Center San Diego has something perfect to fill your summer nights. Que Viva Cine Latino. The nonprofit Media Arts Center San Diego sponsors both the San Diego Latino Film Festival and Que Viva Cine Latino, an outdoor film series designed to bring the latest and best Latino films to the South Bay community. Wednesdays in September are dedicated to family-friendly films under the stars, with live entertainment and art exhibits at the Paseo del Arte corridor at Las Americas Premium Outlets.
Who's ready for some música?
The film series kicks off on Wednesday with the romantic comedy Overboard, about a Latino billionaire who gets taught a life lesson after amnesia leaves him in the hands of a disgruntled former employee.
I'm here to pick up my husband.
You and my wife?
For better or worse, baby.
I'm poor?
Yep.
How come they don't look like me?
We had to use a sperm donor.
I'm sterile.
The series continues with the comedy El Jeremías, about a gifted child. The documentary Dolores, about longtime activist Dolores Huerta.
I left a couple of my children behind.
That's part of the sacrifice that we made and that we had to make.
And it still pains me when I think about it.
And concludes with the Oscar-winning Pixar animated film, Coco.
Come on, what did De La Cruz always say?
Seize your moment?
Show me what you got, muchacho. I'll be your first audience.
All screenings are free and open to the public, with seating available on a first-come basis. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
The film festival takes place every Wednesday in September at the Las Americas Premium Outlet in San Ysidro. Well, it's not exactly Stonehenge, but the San Francisco Bay Area has a rock mystery of its own. From KQED News, reporter Dan Brecky and producer Adam Grossberg takes a look at the mystery and the reality.
Up in the East Bay Hills, there are a collection of stone walls that people have been discussing for well over 100 years, sort of debating and guessing at who built them, when they were built, why they were built. There's no evidence that they're interconnected in any way, but they're seen pretty far north in the Berkeley Hills, all the way down to around San Jose. So one thing that becomes evident as soon as you start looking into this is they've been the source of this sort of romantic speculation for well over 100 years. This is something that's been going on since the early 1900s. The speculation seems almost comical. There are all sorts of theories ranging from, the appearance of Vikings to Lemurians. Lemurians are beings from a lost continent who may have visited at one point and had some reason to build walls. I heard somebody suggest there's got to be a Vatican tie-in to this somehow. At one point, there was a researcher from Berkeley. He claimed that he had evidence of an ancient city in the Berkeley Hills, and he had a kind of divining rod that would help him locate where this city was. There was a school of thought that perhaps Chinese explorers had come over at some point and built walls for some reason.
We know the Chinese began building the Great Wall of China thousands of years ago. Did they build a similar structure here?
Which seems incredibly unlikely. Anyway, the basic problem with the walls and determining their provenance is that nobody bothered to keep any records of building them. They were incidental structures. Many people have researched them. Some of them are amateurs and some of them are professional archaeologists. Lo and behold, I was alerted to the existence of somebody named Jeff Fentress, who's an archaeologist with San Francisco State.
So there's a fairly intact segment of wall that goes for 100, 200 feet here.
His expert opinion, now he will caution you, he doesn't know for sure, but his expert opinion is that these were built probably as a part of ranching or other agricultural operations.
A few years before the gold rush, there were only a few hundred non-Indian people in San Francisco. 2 years after the gold rush, there were 200,000 people. A lot of these people were running sheep and cattle, and they had to keep their cattle and sheep herds separate from everybody else.
So nobody bothered to document these things because they were very practical. They were trying to mark a property line, my idea, or they were building corrals, or they wanted to direct how cattle were moving. I don't know how to explain it other than that. People see these things and they naturally wonder, well, why is that there? They create a story around it, and I think that's a natural human tendency. This sort of need to access the magical to explain the perhaps very mundane has been around for a long time.
You can read more about the East Bay rock walls at kqed.org. Now here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Brett Kavanaugh will have his confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. You can listen to the hearings live on NPR News starting tomorrow morning. And helping veterans with mental health care, the key change that could make a difference. That's tomorrow on KPBS Evening Edition. You can find tonight's stories on our website. kpbs.org/evening edition. And we leave you with the sounds of Sean Pauling performing at Capitol Public Radio. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
Stars and galaxies, yeah. Don't close your eyes, they can let you know you don't. It's gone in a moment, just like a dream. It will be